Shalom Aleichem, friends of the New Synagogue of Palm Beach. The Torah speaks very often about the issue of free will and highlights the fact that we are free to choose between blessing and curse, life and death, good and evil. A typical example of this is this week's parasha, the opening of this week's parasha, where the Torah says, Re'eh anochi noten lifnechem hayom, behold, I am placing before you today bracha uklala, blessing and curse. And then the Torah, in its typical style, goes on to list, as it does so many times, the blessings and good life, positive consequences that result from choosing good and life, and God forbid the negative consequences that result from choosing negatively, choosing evil, choosing death. The issue that I had with this is that when our sages in the Talmud frame the issue of free will and speak of the issue of free will, they seem to use different terminology to that of the Torah. A classic example is the Talmud Masechet Nida that states Hakol bidei shamayim chutz miyirat shamayim. Everything is in the hands of heaven except for the fear or awe of heaven. Everything is in the hands of heaven except for the fear or awe of heaven. And the question is, why do the sages express the issue of free will in this way? Everything in the hands of heaven, explains the Talmud, that a fetus upon conception is brought before God by the angel, and the angel asks God, do you want this child to be wealthy or poor? Would you like this child to be healthy or unhealthy? Would you like this child to be strong or weak, intelligent, more intelligent or less intelligent? And God determines many of those factors. There's one question, states the Talmud, that God is not asked. Will this child be a righteous individual? Will this child choose the path of good and evil? Tzaddik or Rasha? Will he be a righteous person or a negative person? An evil person? He explains the Talmud, because this choice is in our hands. Because Hakol bidei shamayim, everything is in the hands of heaven except for the fear and awe of heaven, which means free will. But why do the sages and why does the Talmud see and frame free will in this way? Actually, it's based on a verse in the Torah. But why is free will framed not as a choice between good and evil, blessing and curse, life and death? What has the awe, fear of heaven got to do with the issue of free will at all? Why is free will framed as a choice between the awe of God, the fear of God, as opposed to the choice of good and evil, life and death, blessing or curse? I'd like to suggest the following solution. You see, I believe that our sages are teaching us that the true mechanism and the true choice we have is not really the choice between good and evil. There is a more fundamental choice that underlies and motivates us to choose good. See, very often the path of good is a path that has consequences that are uncomfortable for us. It could be a loss of money. It could be emotional pain. It could be discomfort. And the choice of negativity is not always but often associated with instant gratification, pleasures, a simple, easier path in life. So what motivates the human being to choose that path of good? Say the sages. What gives us the impetus to choose good is that when we're in the midst of a dilemma, a moral dilemma, should we go this path or this path? Should we choose good or bad, blessing or curse, life or death? the real decision we have to make, and we make at that point in time, is will we allow God to become part of our thought process? Will we allow the thought of God and what His will would be in this situation to enter our psyche, to enter our mind, to enter our consciousness and thinking? That is the true free choice. The choice between good and evil is not the most fundamental choice. The most fundamental choice is, will we allow God at the point when we have fundamental dilemma and ethical and moral dilemma in our life, will we allow ourselves to consider what is the will of God in this situation? Will we allow that thought and the awareness of God to even enter our psyche? Friends, today is Rosh Chodesh Elul, the first day of the month of Elul, a month where we try and build Yirat Shamayim, awe of heaven, in preparation for Rosh Hashanah. Awe and fear of heaven does not mean sitting and shivering in one's boots. Awe and fear of heaven means that a person allows the awareness of God into their life, into their decisions. And please God, we should work on bringing God to the forefront of our moral choice, forefront of our conscious minds. And please God, as a result of that, we will all be written and sealed in the book of life.